Welcome back to Universally Speaking, ladies and gentlemen, and we are hot off the heels of a history-making Royal Rumble, and we are officially on the road to WrestleMania. But as we know, we have the ultimate roadblock in No Way Out still to come. But before we even get there, we have some chaos to sift through this week, and for the weeks to come yet. We begin this week with NXT and the brutal war between Dakota Kai and Beth Phoenix. Both of these women tore each other to shreds after a heated rivalry that spanned over the course of a few months. And it all stemmed from the fact that Dakota Kai was left out of the women's power rankings on NXT, and she took exception to that decision, singling out Beth Phoenix as being someone who didn't deserve that spot over her. The two went back and forth for months before finally settling it this week in a no disqualification war. Kai would come out victorious with a vicious spinning kick that would clatter the steel chair into the skull of Beth Phoenix. She then followed it up with a chiropractor for the win. Dakota Kai lost a few battles along the way. She sure as hell won the war. Also on NXT, we saw a classic main event for the North American Championship get ransacked by a man dressed all in black. Chad Gable and Matt Riddle were doing battle in a classic Titanic match when all of a sudden a man with, yes, you guessed it, a kendo stick would drop Gable and strike him several times over before fleeing the scene. Speculation has run wild over who it could be, and many rightly believing that it has to be Apollo Crews, who turned on both members of ESM in Daniel Bryan and Chad Gable in the Royal Rumble match when it was just the last three. Crews was set to appear on Smackdown this past week, was cut off by the usual ESM shenanigans. And ESM have a lot of enemies though, so whether it's Crews or whether it's anybody else, it appears that the Elite are under siege. On Raw this week, we saw the triumphant return of the Hall of Fame legend, Edge. In an emotional return to the ring, Edge quickly got very, very serious though, as he showed the live crowd the very reason for the attack on Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. It was Lesnar who took out Edge, and Edge was general manager of Smackdown, rendering him unable to return until now. Edge told the world that he is back, he is cleared to wrestle, and he's going to kick Brock Lesnar's ass. We haven't heard anything from the Lesnar camp yet, but there is absolutely no doubt that he will be ready to fight, because the Beast always is. We also saw on the Red Brand yet another brilliant main event match. We knew at the start of the night that Bronson Reed would be facing the newest trade arrival to Raw. Nothing could prepare us what would happen after. Samoa Joe was in the ring before the match, demanding a fresh new challenger for his newly won World Heavyweight Championship. Then he was confronted by Big E Langston, who seemed more than up for it. But it was then that AJ Styles would attack. Still scorned by being the man that lost the title at the Royal Rumble, Styles cleaned everybody out of the ring, but it was then that the newest trade to Raw was revealed. Of course, it was Finn Balor, the ghost from AJ Styles' past. A man he'd mocked for months is now on the same brand. Styles would swiftly leave the ring, Bronson Reed would then enter. And then Balor versus Reed was on. And the match was absolutely fantastic. But then, of course, in typical Monday Night Raw fashion, there was another twist. Mustafa Ali, who was battered and bruised by Reed for weeks after his return, would come down and get in the face of Drake Maverick, but it would lead to Ali inadvertently causing a distraction so that AJ Styles could strike on Finn Balor. Ali would chase after Maverick, leaving the door open for Reed to hit the splash. 1, 2, 3. Bronson Reed makes a huge statement, and you have to ask the question, are we looking at another unstoppable force on Monday Night Raw? We, as always, will have to wait and see. On SmackDown this week, we saw a fascinating start to the show as Keith Lee would hold an open challenge for the Intercontinental Championship. As Lee was waiting in the ring, he heard some very familiar music. And while it was Rey Mysterio's music playing, it was not Rey Mysterio that would appear. It was his son, Dominic. Dominic Mysterio wanted to fight Keith Lee as he believes, like many, that Keith Lee has been disrespectful to his family, and namely, to his father. It was his father, Ray, however, that would talk Dominic out of fighting Keith Lee, citing that he has no experience level to be in there with someone like Lee. Smart advice indeed. Lee would then go on to eventually have the open challenge answered by none other than Seth Rollins. And let me tell you, this could be one of the best matches in series history, so I recommend you go back and check it out if you haven't already. And finally, pun very much intended, we get to the universally speaking moment of the week. It was electrifying, and it quite simply speaks for itself. Wait. Up on the top. Oh my god. Well, they say imitation is the greatest form of flattery. But be careful what you wish for, Ricochet. Will it be the Great One versus the one and only at WrestleMania? So the Great One versus the one and only at WrestleMania? Potentially, but only if Ricochet impresses The Rock. To be part of Universally Speaking, as always, just be yourself, respond in the comments and the live chat during premieres for your chance to see your name up in lights. This coming week on Raw though, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of up in lights, Drew McIntyre will be up in the lights as he speaks about a tense confrontation and subsequent elimination from the Royal Rumble at the hands of Kane at the massive pay-per-view. On SmackDown, Sanity has vowed to bring even more chaos than usual after their very controversial victory at the Royal Rumble as well. And on NXT, an enormous stack show boasting Aleister Black taking on Roderick Strong. If Strong wins, Adam Cole, the leader of the Undisputed Era, gets to choose his next opponent for the NXT Championship. But if the Dutch Destroyer wins, well, the Dutch Destroyer gets a shot at Adam Cole. Also, a massive Women's Championship match continues the run of championship main events on NXT when Candice LeRae faces Sasha Banks for all the gold. As we always say, ladies and gentlemen, it has never been more important to have notifications on as we go live every single episode of Raw, SmackDown, and all pay-per-views. And there are tons of ways you can support the channel, like heading to our newly rebooted website at myt13.com for special website exclusive videos and information. And there is also a shop section for your perusal. It contains the Patreon, where if you sign up as a mid-carder or above, you can get early access to every single video on the channel. And there's also the Murphs Elite right here on YouTube. When you click the join button, you can get access to special sub badges and emotes. And if you go to the Superstar tier, you can get early access thrown in as well. Plus, the Teespring store is open for business 24 hours a day if you want to pick up some MYT13 merch. And also, that includes the ESM endorsed Elite line as well. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, from YT13, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.